Hello, this is Steve, your YouTube English teacher, with this week's video, and we are doing some reading and use of English and speaking today. It's a class I taught this week. It's a class I taught this week to cover another teacher. So I came in and I said, you sit here, and everyone shut up. I was going to call this video a class to make your students shut up, because it's always nice to have that when it's a class you don't know and they're a year 9 class, which is, 14 years old, the worst age. But anyway, no, let's call it getting 100% on the B2 reading use of English. And there's a specific reason for that, because following this technique, this is a very accessible B2 reading. That is a real B2 reading. And then using the use of English technique that we've learned, that you're, getting everything you can from these texts, you can get 100% on this. So let's get into it. This will be in the description, the text for you to work on at your own pace, since pausing the video is a bit difficult sometimes. But it's part 6, which means you need to take these sentences and put them in the correct gap. How? Well, the best thing to do is to read the whole text and top level, summarize in your own words, 2 or 3 words, the key idea before gap number 1 and after gap number 1. If you struggle to do that with time issues, for example, then maybe just underline the key idea before. But top level is to summarize in your own words, because that will really show you understand the ideas before and after the gap, which will then make it much easier to put the correct idea in the gap. As we know, part 6 for B2, part 7 for C1 is all about connecting ideas of a text together in a logical way based on sequencing or contrasting or elaboration, these kind of things of how a text is connected. This is about an airport photographer. Your task is do it. I gave you the technique of how to do it. Summarize the key ideas before and after each gap. Put the correct sentence in the gap based on how those ideas are connected together. There is one sentence you do not need. It's in the description if you want to do it on your own computer like this, or you can just write your answers as you're looking at the screen. Here come the answers with a quick explanation. Number 1, so the key idea is that the flights are arriving from Los Angeles, which is D, where you generally find celebrities. It's Hollywood, it's a place, it's where, okay. Number 2, he knows the photographer, he or she knows the security staff well, so that's the people, those are the people who give them the tips, the advice, like they're telling them the information that a star is going to be there to be photographed. Number 3, they can see the value of being photographed. I think that is A, they enjoy it. Why do they enjoy it? Because they see the value of it. They like being photographed. It's not the typical idea you hear of the paparazzi being horrible. We're seeing the other side of that. Celebrities like being photographed. They see the value of it. Number 4, not always like that. Sometimes they say no. So the photographers have to leap around. Well, F is about ducking and diving, which means moving in a particular way, particularly jumping around, going up and down, leaping around to get the photograph they want. And number 5, more weird examples like celebrities hiding or running away. Well, refusing to be photographed. This is a different one, isn't it? So it's G. However, some stars are different. The however implies a difference, and the difference is here they like being photographed, and here they are hiding or running away. So that however was the key word. And finally, the last one, some kind of member of the royal family that we obviously worship and adore, was carrying both babies in her arms, and I was lucky enough to get shots of them, the babies. And we all want to see photos of celebrity royal babies. Obviously much better than normal babies like my babies or your babies. They are worthless creatures compared to these royal babies who we want to see photos of. Those are the answers. You have 12 marks. I'm hoping you got 100%. That was the point of the video. So how did you do? Let me know. If you didn't do so well, keep practicing. We've seen how the ideas are connected together following my instructions. That's what you need to learn. Let's go on to some use of English. And hopefully, if you've seen my videos now, you can sort of guess where this is coming from. Do not look at the reading you just did. Do not look at the text. But hopefully you were paying attention to it, because from a B2 text like that, you can not just get reading information, this idea of comprehension and connecting ideas, you can also get a lot of good use of English practice. So what I did was I took the first 3 little paragraphs and I found 8 useful words for use of English Part 3 that I think could be on a B2 exam. I'm expecting 100% here because you just read it. You just read it when you're doing the reading, so it should be fresh in your mind, this kind of word formation, use of English Part 3 exercises. If they're not, you should be paying more attention to use of English Part 3. When you're reading a text and you're preparing for these B2 exams and C1 exams, you are thinking, oh, that's an interesting word formation. But anyway, you've paused the video, you've written your 8 answers for use of English Part 3. It's taken you 3 or 4 minutes. 3 or 4 minutes well spent of your life. And here come the answers. Number 1, we are talking about famous people, celebrities. Number 2, a part of the airport, arrivals, or you could say arrival hall. What's the opposite of arrival? The 2 parts of an airport. As I said, thinking about word formation, depart, departure, or departures. Always thinking of that could be on the exam as well. Today it's arrivals, tomorrow it's departures. That's life. Number 3, magazines, that was the clue, and newspapers. And number 4, the organization that works with these things will be an agency. Number 5, we need a person, Richard Branson, who's an owner. And number 6, this is by far the most difficult one. This is more like a C1 question, but sometimes that will happen. The arriving flights with come are the incoming flights. Number 7, people who work to keep us secure are security. And number 8, you make the difference. Make a difference. Make all the difference. Obviously, difference. Okay, so hopefully we've got 8 out of 8, or at least 7, because a lot of them are nice B2 level questions for you. Let's do the same thing for use of English Part 2. It's the next little bit of the text. And again, I've been thinking with my B2 C1 Cambridge mentality, what kind of questions will they ask me for use of English Part 2? When I'm reading a text, like that B2 reading text, what grammar can I see that might be in a use of English Part 2 exam? Well, I found 8 questions, and now it's your job to answer them. Pause the video, and now we're going to go through the answers and explain them. And number 1, starting with an easy one, 4, present perfect continuous, the duration of time, 4. Number 2, bit of context. If you like someone, then they probably send you a Christmas card every year, or each year would also be acceptable. Number 3, we're giving examples of fun celebrities. They are people like Paul McCartney and Rod Stewart. And number 4, that's because they can see the value of it. That's the reason, isn't it? That's why they're fun. It's because they see the value of it. Number 5, this is a nice one. Sometimes, if you need a verb, it's going to be a common verb. What sounds good with smile? Talking about celebrities who smile at you. They give you a smile. Number 6, we're talking about celebrities and their managers. It makes sense that celebrities have managers. Number 7, you do something in a certain manner, in this manner. That's just an expression. And number 8, this is a nice one. We need a verb. And we need the verb that covers all verbs in general. That's why they do it. Do it meaning leap around. That's what do means, isn't it? Leap around. It's referencing the previous verb. And the verb that covers to repeat a verb is to do something. So you have a score out of 8 for use of English Part 2. Okay, so far we're on 100%, right? I'm sure many of my millions of viewers are still on 100% so far. Here, I've got to be honest, we might lose some of you because I thought I want to make this a good, valuable video for my students. So I want to add some use of English Part 4. As we know, these ones are more difficult. These are not just sentences from the reading. I've had to make them a bit more difficult than that because use of English Part 4 is like that. You have 5 words maximum. You need to complete the second sentence, so it means the same as the first, using the word given. And again, I'm trying to aim for a B2 level in today's class because that was the class I taught this week. So C1 viewers is useful, but you should be really getting 100% here because these would be very easy for a C1 exam. Here are the answers, which you have written down, and you are going to get your score out of 8 again. Number 1, if you have no idea, you are unaware. And fact, you're unaware of the fact. So I was unaware of the fact. Number 2, if he's the only one, then apart from him, we need apart from for 1 point. And none of the celebrities. That's how we'd say he was the only one. None of the others. We're saying 0 of the others. Number 3, If something seems a waste of time, then you can't the point. You can't see the point of or in doing something. Means you don't see why we do it. You don't understand why we do it. It's a waste of time. And number 4, how do we use afford for something that costs too much? You can't afford to. We can't afford a new camera. Maybe I should have made that question a bit better, because really I wanted you to say can't afford to buy. But I guess you could just say cannot afford a new camera. But anyway, the point I'm trying to test, hey, it's a class. It's not going to be perfect. We're all just working here. The point I'm trying to test is afford is used with the infinitive. You can't afford to do something. So afford to buy is what I really wanted you to do. And I also wanted you to know that afford often collocates with can or cannot. Anyway, this is use of English part 4. As we know, 8 marks there, 1 point for each part of the dividing line. And we'll finish with a quick bit of speaking. We have got some photos, and you've got 1 minute to compare the photos and say what motivated these people to take the photos. Remember, the technique for B2 is to answer the question. You need to concentrate on making clear points, answering the question, hopefully in a different way or a similar way for both photos. That's where the comparison comes in. So you're saying things like, while both photos show people taking photos, the contexts are very different. One is inside and one is outside. I would say that what motivated them was being with their family in a memorable moment. The second photo is also memorable, but it's very different because maybe it's a holiday, and so on and so on. This is a 1 minute timer that I'm not going to sit here and leave for you. You can pause and put your own 1 minute timer. Do it. Put a timer on. Test yourself. That's the best way of doing it, as we know. After that, you will have a short 30-second question for the other person in the exam. Which situation is more memorable and why? And you can give your own personal answer about what you would consider more memorable, whether it's a trip or whether it's a family Christmas holiday. Now, the other person in your pair has different photos. Here are your photos. I'd like you to compare them and say what makes a good photo for the people taking the photos. And again, 1 minute answering the question, talking about getting the natural moment of wildlife, talking about being very patient, talking about respecting the environment, or talking about getting a perfect smile from the celebrity, or talking about maybe getting an embarrassing moment from the celebrity, or a scandalous dress from the celebrity, or something like this. And then selling it to a newspaper. And they're similar because they're both taking photos of real natural environments, but they're different because one is very quiet and the other one is very crazy and lively with lots of noise and flashes and so on. And then a little 30-second question, which situation is more stressful and why? And the other person can give their 30-second answer on that. It's B2 speaking. We know how it works by now. If you don't, go and watch my other videos, go and crack a dictionary, go and learn how it works. Right, that's enough for today. That is a very nice, complete B2 class that I hope was useful. Have a nice week. See you later.